And welcome back to Life Between Coasts. We're so glad you're here. I'm your host, Leah. This week's episode features Rico. He's an amazing individual who's had his life's ups and downs, but through it all has still, at even 67 years of age, still giving himself to those that are in need. With his organization that he founded, lovemelikeadog.org, he has been able to match service dogs by raising funds with veterans who need that unconditional love just the same. So enjoy the episode and let's learn what we can from Rico. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Life Between Coasts. Today we have Rico with us, and he is going to tell us about his journey that has led him up to actually creating not only a cookbook, but also a organization that helps both the need for veterans to have comfort animals or assistant animals, or guide dogs, or service dogs in general, and then also just for the love of the four-legged creature that we call man's best friend. So Rico, please introduce yourself and tell us about you.
Okay. Like to say, my name is Ricardo, but Rico is easy. And I'm from Brazil, and I came to America in 1986. I was having a great business in Brazil, and unfortunately, my partner's family, we were making a lot of money, and they kind of, start getting weird feelings. So I just sold my part, and I was in the north of Brazil, Maceió. It's a beautiful place with the beaches and stuff. So instead of renting an apartment, I went to a campground, and I was living there in the campground. It's not like here in America they have electricity or anything, but I made friends with the manager, and we ended up digging a hole and put a wire there, so I had TV and everything in my tent, and was right there where I met this couple. He's from U.S., actually here from Ann Arbor, and she's right there from that state, Maceió. And so we became friends. And one day they say, I always want to come to America. We are talking, and they say, why don't you come? I said, I could. They have money and everything. We didn't have these visa issues that we have now. I got my visa like in a week. And say, but before we go, we'd like to travel the coast of Brazil for 30 days. You have a brand new car, and we pay for everything. So we did that, and after that, I flew right to Detroit, and Arbor, and I've been here since then.
Wow.
So I was very happy. It's like a dream, like for a lot of people, it's a dream come true to come to America. And I came here, I couldn't speak any English, So I started attending a school, Michigan Language Center. And I remember taking the bus from North Campus here because they used to live there, and going to Ann Arbor, and the bus driver talking to me and stuff, and then I didn't know, so I figured if I just say, "Oh yeah, right," so he would keep talking to me because when you say I don't understand, people stop. So that was a way that I found to keep talking and learn a little bit. So after a while, I ended up, these people that I came with, they're Muslims. So I was living in their house, and then I moved to the Muslim house. And just after that, my father passed away. When I left Brazil from Rio, I paid for him to come and see me taking off. And he was diabetic, just like me. And by the time he got back home, he was speaking a language nobody understand. His sugar was really high, and he ended up passing away.
Yes.
At that time, I was living in a Muslim house, and the Muslim people really, helped me to, comfort me and stuff. So I became Muslim, at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would memorize every week. I memorized one surah of the Quran and stuff. And then,
Mm-hmm.
so to make a long story short, I ended up marrying a Muslim girl, arranged marriage, like
Mm-hmm.
they say. But I ended up having a son. His name is Hamza. And then I divorced,
Mm-hmm.
and that was that part. I was married. After that, I got married and everything. So
Now, what not to touch on tough subjects, but what the divorce just growing apart or different paths,
it's
growth.
just like she was very young,
Mm-hmm.
very immature.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk much before the marriage, but on the end, I found out she was just going to get married just to get out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So things didn't work out.
So you were seeking or searching for a love of sort, much
Well,
more than just a companion.
at the time there, I really embraced Islam,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see things as the way God wants you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very simple and loving person, and I believe on that. And then, you know, I for me she was the person that I would love the most.
Mm-hmm.
But for her it wasn't the same
It wasn't the
the
same.
same situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I start business here, and I went to school for rug design. I ended up having a successful business.
Okay.
I bought a farmhouse, almost 6 acres, with a big house, 3,600 square feet,
Mm-hmm.
and I remodeled everything. And then that wasn't her thing. So
Mm-hmm.
she didn't. So that's when that
Okay.
divorce, and then she gave me a hard time. You know, she
Yeah.
gave me a hard time, and but I'm a comeback kid. So
Right. Now, after that chapter, that door closes,
hmm
um, you're still a business owner at that point.
yeah, I
Okay.
still kept doing the business. Um, I had at the farmhouse one of big barn there was a garage.
Mm-hmm.
I poured the cement there, and I turned into um, really the rug business. I started making the serging binding.
Mm-hmm.
I designed air tape and doing all that stuff there,
Mm-hmm.
and so that went for a few years. And then in 1994, we had the World Cup here. I used
Mm-hmm.
to play soccer in Brazil.
Okay.
So we had the World Cup here. And in front of the farmhouse, we had the big hayfield.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, maybe I should teach soccer here.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, there's that movie that came out from Kevin Costner, If You Build, They'll Come.
Okay. The
You
Field of
know?
Dreams.
Yeah,
Yes.
Field of Dreams. And I say, you know what? Maybe this is my field of dreams. So I clean all that hay, and I started Brazilian soccer school. And I had that for almost 10 years, you know.
It's
And
funny you say that about the Field of Dreams,
yeah,
though,
field of
because
dream, and they did
I've
come.
made that joke about this here. I
Yeah,
said, "This is my field of dreams. If you
exactly.
build it,
And
they will
that's
come and talk."
I'm a I
And
am
here
a
you
I'm
are.
a dreamer.
Yes.
And my dad played soccer before too. And it was a very nice journey. Kids just loved me, call me Coach Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
And I started the soccer camps there. I had a week with 70 kids there,
Mm-hmm.
and making good money for $200 a kid. That's you
That's
know.
good money.
And then on the weekends I'll bring, and then I have on the front I had them older kids, and the back I had a couple of people. We did the Scooby Doo camp with the little kids and
Okay.
stuff. It's like a babysitter
That's
for
good.
them. But and then on Fridays I'll bring a musician. It was always a fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that went well. There's a lot of kids. I love psychology. I love kids. I love talking to people, and that's why I think we both connect.
I think so.
And so there was a lot of kids that help kids with uh, issues with identity, and that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I had kids that very rebellion kids, and I was I was lucky to turn a lot of them around. I
Okay.
remember one kid, Daniel. that his mother actually was the psychologist for the Red Wings,
Mm-hmm.
but she'll spend like 45 minutes on the phone with me so I could help her son. So you
Mm-hmm.
see that how it was, you know. So that was a good journey there.
Mm-hmm. Now,
And
what was your transition? Those seem like, you know, building, your business as it was, and then teaching soccer. What
yeah,
what what happened?
yeah, I was doing the business there, and with the carpenter stuff, it's a lot of in your knee and the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, I think my call now is the kids, it's soccer. So I sold the business. They still doing the business there,
Mm-hmm.
and I made in a way that I still get a share, small share, but just to keep things going.
Right.
And I dedicate myself totally, to
Mm-hmm.
soccer. We play here at Wide World Sports, and I had in the winter I had sometimes 25 teams. I had so many teams that sometimes my team plays against my team. You know,
Okay.
a lot of kids did well. Some
Mm-hmm.
got scholarship. Playing college,
Right.
playing soccer. Um, then I start the soccer mom teams. I start soccer moms camp,
Mm-hmm.
and then I always like to the kids with issues. My sister's a psychologist in Brazil, and she started her practice helping kids with disability. So I start soccer for all,
Mm-hmm.
just for kids with Down syndrome and autistic kids, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just a fantastic project there. Everything's free and stuff, and I enjoyed that very much. I still have a lot of some picture of them. I remember this autistic kid. He started running. He lay down and used the soccer ball as a pillow,
Okay.
and everybody's looking at me. I just lay down the other side and I shared the pillow with him with the soccer ball,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how we connect.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that
But
part.
you took the time to get to his level,
Yes,
and that's
and
the key.
that's you hit exact the right spot. I I had the program on during the week at the Fuller Park with the little kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna mention this because you say I went to their level. And one day, this the babysitter of Jacob, his name, came and say I had to come here and see,
Mm-hmm.
because he talks about you all the time. He was like 4 years old.
Okay.
And I want to tell you something that I asked him, how is this Coach Ricky? He said, he's just like us, just a little taller. So that's exactly
Just
what,
like us, just a
yeah,
little
just a little
taller.
taller. So that's,
I like that.
I would bring snake if I find on the farm in the bottle, or, so we had
Inquisitive and
yeah,
curious,
10
and
minutes before we get into the
take
soccer
a look
thing,
at
but
this.
based on that age, there's like the coordination, that kind of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
fun. So that was the soccer
I like that.
venture of
Uh,
my life. I like that very much,
do you
you
still
know.
participate?
No, not anymore. After that, in the year 2004,
Mm-hmm.
um, for due to some allegations there, I had to go back to Brazil, you
Okay.
know, and that's another chapter there,
Okay.
because when my father passed away, um, sister, kind of my family, they figured that was my fault. So I say that I'll never go back to Brazil. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I would have liked here better anyway, but that was
Mm-hmm.
just a drop in the bucket. One more reason that I don't want to go back there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
So a
but
different chapter, and we can
yeah,
talk about that one on a different occasion.
yeah. But
But
what's hard
how
to go
long
back?
how long were you back in Brazil?
I had to stay there for almost 7 years
Okay.
until I could prove my case and everything, and
Okay.
then I got the green card and then came back here,
Okay. So
and
you
it
had the
start all over
opportunity. Yes.
again. You know,
But you had to start over.
yeah,
That was the thing.
yeah.
It
At that
was at
time
that
when
point you had nothing
no,
left.
when I went back, I lost the farmhouse, 6 acres on Jackson Road. That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I had behind the Target in Arbor Saline Road. I had 10 acres there that was going to turn into soccer fields.
Mm-hmm.
So I lost everything,
Mm-hmm.
zero, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was married at that time, but lost everything. So when I came back in 2010, I started over,
Okay.
you know.
And what did you do?
Well, the first 6, 7 months was just like fixing the house there, my ex-wife's house and painting, doing. Then I went and met with one of the parents that used to coach their daughter and stuff. And he worked in a fiber optic company there, and say I cannot guarantee, but you go for a test. And so I went and I passed, and I started working on that company there. I worked there for almost 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then then I ended up leaving the company. Just to make the story short, I had to leave, but I did good work there. It's just an assembler there, but um, I'm very curious. I like projects. I like things, so I end up figured out issues they had there on manufacturing, and I see myself sometimes on a big room explaining to 9 engineers what I found.
Mm-hmm.
So
And it's hard. I find it's difficult for myself to have that mundane, the same thing over and
yeah,
over and over. I need the different
yeah.
things to occur,
So
and I think that's why you excel at doing what you do. And I think I excel at doing it what I do because there's always something
yeah.
different. So when you're always searching for those connections with
Hmm.
people, I think that that's where our lives
Yeah, that's what we
intersect
kind
again
of.
because we have that we search we're constantly looking to better ourselves but also other people,
Hmm.
and I think that's a great quality to have.
Yeah, and I like to figure out things. So I used to do my assembly work, find a
Yes.
way to do, faster there. Then they had the shoes that they do a solder thing under microscope, and they were having problems. So I figured, oh, maybe I'm gonna use my phone. So I taped my phone on the microscope, and when they're doing the solder, I was able to tape when that delamination was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I made the jig and then airflow different to stay cool, so be able to fix that and things like that.
Right.
So from there, I went to work for a bioscience company there, and they had the company that offers job. What they call they look for put people in different jobs. They offer me a job here in Ipsy for $18 an hour,
Okay.
and this company there for $12. So say I'll take the $12 because I kind of researched the company there. And to make a story short, I started looking at the production, how they used to do things there,
Mm-hmm.
and making like 12 units they use for research and stuff. A month working overtime and all that. So I figured out the way to do better, no overtime. So a year and a half, I was from $12, I was promoted to a production engineer at 35 an hour.
Okay.
And
Congratulations on that.
so
They
I,
talk about moving up in a company
I
pretty
know,
quickly,
I know,
right?
and
Well, it just shows that you might not have experience in that industry, but if you open your eyes and you
oh
pay
yeah, yeah.
attention, you can see those things that need to be made more
And
efficient.
most of the time, the solution are the simple things,
Very, very
and then
simple.
so maybe a fresh pair of eyes, somebody
Uh-huh.
that's not real engineer
Yeah.
can see things different. So from that company there, there was an incident there that somebody was doing some wrong stuff, and I went to talk to this person and say, be careful with this, and stuff. And he thought that I was gonna blow the whistle there, and I
Mm-hmm.
went to work one day, and that was it. I had no job,
Mm.
and at the same time, I was had an issue between my son and her son, so we had to split.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I no job, nothing, no money. So I became homeless,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like almost 3 years.
Okay.
So I went to live on the back of a garage, not too far from here.
Okay.
And from there, I built a little shed inside there.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time when I left that marriage there, I had a dog, Willow, that we found at the Humane Society.
Mm-hmm.
Really skinny and looked like sick. I say, I'll take this one here 'cause it's very calm. And ended up being a beautiful white Belgian Shepherd dog,
Mm-hmm.
Willow. And at the time, I trained the dogs up. I wasn't really, if they lick my hand, I have to go and wash. I was kind of,
Okay.
But I left there and left Willow. And my son said, oh, we need a dog, we need a dog. So I went to Humane Society and found another one, which was interesting. I like one, but when I went to adopt, they say he's not here. So I ended up getting Rex.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was doing the paperwork, I see the other dog coming in. His name BJ. I say, I thought he was gone. No, he just went for a walk. So I
Oh.
ended up getting Rex, who
Okay.
was there for over 2 years, being abused and all that.
Oh, goodness gracious.
And then start with
So he
Rex
was at the Humane
at the
Society
Humane
for over 2
Society.
years?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And he had cut ears and stuff and scratch on his belly,
Oh,
like
goodness.
no hair and all that stuff. So we took him
Mm-hmm.
and we developed a bond.
No.
And when my son left, went to a Bible school, I stayed with Rex.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started taking care of his wounds and stuff. And on his belly there, as I took care of that one, it started closing
Mm-hmm.
in the shape of a heart,
Oh, my goodness.
And was the time that I kind of lost a job, lost love, and he
Right.
was so kind to me. I say, you know, I wish people love me like a dog. It's
Mm-hmm.
unconditional love. And I see that heart shape in there. I say, one day I'm going to do a, something that to help, the animals and stuff, and maybe people that could use a dog like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 2015.
Okay.
I even registered the name at the time, but never did. So when I became home there, living on the back of a garage, um, things was turned to be very difficult. And I'm laying down on the couch and just thinking about just ending everything. And Rex, who was laying on the floor, he kind of crawled gentle on the couch and put his head on my chest
Oh.
and look at me. I could see the water, the tear in his eyes, just like saying, I'm here,
Yeah.
And then at the time I say, if he was abandoned there, he was adopted and returned 2 times.
Oh, gosh.
They say he couldn't learn anything, he did that. When I got him in a week, he would sit, he rolled, doing all kind of stuff. I say, how can I do this to him?
Mm-hmm.
Again, gonna have to go back there. That's not fair,
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me, I'm here, you
Yes.
know,
As they do. They
as they do.
communicate.
And so I say, I gotta do something. So I sign up for school again, start, doing science and communication, and then I'll get a little money from the the government, student loan,
Right.
and I say I gotta find a job. So I love to cook. I'll make all kind of stuff, and I say maybe they need a cook at the U of M.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and applied, and I had an interview, and the guy there named Jason, he said, "You got a lot of good skills, Let's do different. Instead of cook, I'm gonna give a list of the jobs we have, and you can pick one."
Right.
I say, how about if you tell me the job that you're having a hard time to find someone? You see, I have this one here in the stock room at the U of M. It's a place that I cannot tell you the name because it's a secret place at U of
It's
M.
fine.
And he said, oh, that's a good idea. It's just here. Good? I said, that's good. So I went and I had the interview and I got the job.
Uh-huh.
And I start doing, and like I say, I'm love to organize things. and I started to organize the shipment. It was just like a warehouse thing,
Mm-hmm.
and organized the shipment and made a map where everything was and clean. That people say, "My God, now we can even eat on the floor. This place is super clean," you know. And I started doing few things to improve.
Right.
And some engineer that say they're gonna have an opening for engineer. You should apply, you know. So I talked to my boss, whose name is Jason also, and he said, "No, you just got here. You have other people there and stuff. Let's see in the future." I said, "No, that's fine. I'm just saying because they're the ones telling me, you know,
Right.
I'm okay here." And I was making like $14 an hour. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so 5 months later, he said, "I got a job for you. You know, we're gonna do the upgrade of the wireless at the hospital, and
Mm-hmm.
we'd like you to help manage the project. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot pay much, but I'll pay you $30 an hour." I said, "Come again?"
So you go from
So,
$14
yeah,
an hour up
exactly.
to $30.
And I worked there in almost 2 years
Mm-hmm.
until the COVID came.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, I was able to save money. I was able to rent an apartment, a nice apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and when the COVID came, um, I had to do something. I say, life has thrown so many curveballs on me, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but this one, I'm gonna take it as not a curveball, but as a change of life and a positive thing. So maybe now it's time for me to fulfill my promise I made for Rex, you
Yes.
know? So I had money, saved some money and stuff, and I hired a lawyer and I started the nonprofit and everything. I bought an RV to travel. And the funny thing is when I got some money, I said, I'm gonna leave it still living in the garage. I said, I'm gonna buy some treats for Rex, you know? And I went to the Kruger, and there I met Chandra, who
Mm-hmm.
used to be, we used to live in the same complex. She's from Trinidad. And we just start talking and say, "Have you got your new apartment and the
Mm-hmm.
townhouse and stuff?" Say, "No, because you know, one bedroom is too hard. Two bedrooms, you know, I'll need to have another person. I'm just by myself." Say, "Put my name on, you know." In 30 days, she got placed. So happened that after the COVID, when the COVID happened,
Uh-huh.
then the unemployment, everything ended. And I say, "I'm going to get my RV now and start traveling." And I asked her, "Can I stay in your home just for 30 days?" You know? And that's when I discovered what a beautiful person Chandra was.
Mm-hmm.
Her started life and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, I would have one mission to my promise to Rex, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So I'm making another promise now that I'll make Chandra the happiest person in this world, you know?
Yes.
She was 72 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 65. And she helped change my life, you
Mm-hmm.
know. She worked at Gilbert Residence, taking care of elderly
Mm-hmm.
people for almost 30 years. She retired now, so now we're going to do some travel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I start writing the book. You know, I want to make not just a cookbook for dog treats, but that tells about health issues, hand maneuver, you know, CPR, you know, and a lot of details about, you know, did you know this? Did you know there's a dog that survived the Titanic? Did you know their fingerprints actually their nose? There's so many. Which kind of music they like?
Really?
Are they colorblind? No, they're not. They have different cones of the eyes. They see different, and they actually see most of it's maize and blue. So I even wrote a poem also about all dogs go to heaven, but first they stop at UFM. You know,
Together.
so I have
I
that
like
in
that.
my.
It's great. It is wonderful because I did have the opportunity to go through the book. I haven't read it cover to cover, but the stories and the snippets and just the pictures. And unfortunately, when you had asked me for a picture of my Monty for your book, I wasn't in the right place
Yeah.
last year, and so I didn't send one over, even though you're like, please send it, send it. I
Yeah.
want to put it in my book, and I just didn't have the
I
opportunity.
guess that
Um,
I want to have you in my journey or
yes,
my life, whatever you say.
yes,
Uh, and here we are.
and here we
You
are
know, you didn't
now.
have your picture there, but
But here we are
here we are.
talking about
Is
that
is
foundation and
exactly.
that cookbook.
Yeah.
Now the type. Tell me about the foundation. Tell me the name of the foundation.
It's love me like a dog.
Hmm.
Is
I love that.
exactly the word that I say when I look at Rex and you know.
Hmm.
Um,
And
and
what does love me like a dog mean to you?
well, I was in a situation very down, like people that has PTSD and all depression, all this kind of stuff, like a veteran. My dad was a veteran in Brazil, the Air Force and stuff. And I relate my situation. I relate with the veteran.
Hmm.
You know, they're there protecting the country and everything. They come back. You know, the purpose is gone.
Hmm.
Okay, and that's what this other book I'm writing. You know, I love the word purpose. You know, um, you have to have a purpose, otherwise you won't make it. You know, whatever your purpose is. You know, um, and Rex gave me this purpose. You know,
Hmm.
so I started the organization that help dogs.
Hmm.
You know, the pup mills that raise pups just in unhumane way, just for profit, and the veterans. So I figured that I started researching, and I found out that the government doesn't provide a service dog. They did some research, and one day this dog bit somebody that was training, then the Congress stopped all that. I said, I'm going to start this and raise money to help, you know, the veterans to acquire a service dog, and
Hmm.
that's what I'm doing. You know, it's just me and the organization.
Hmm.
Basically, I have a couple members there, Chandra and Jerry, but basically, I'm the only one doing it. You know, and I say, I gotta find a way to raise some money. You know, I was
Hmm.
gonna start traveling there, the country,
Hmm.
and I had cancer.
Hmm.
I'm free now, so things slowed
Excellent.
down. You know, and I ended up selling the RV, but because I couldn't afford just my income is just my social security now.
Right.
But I started writing the book, you know, and ended up being a nice book, 230 some pages, you know,
Hmm.
and I hope now the book just published. Actually, I think you're the first one that got a copy.
Oh, was
Yeah,
I? Oh my goodness. I feel
and the other one
I
was that lady that was here
that
doing
came
her
back
thing.
in
Yeah.
for it. Yes. No, I feel so privileged to be one of the first recipients. It's um, the whole process. You can tell just your everything that's come out of you
Oh my
that
God!
has been
You know,
put
I
into
didn't
the
know
book.
writing a book was the hard. You know,
Hmm.
first I never liked to write. From the shoes from the childhood and getting beat up by a teacher, I hate
Right.
writing. You know, I had problems writing, reading. That was my thing. I loved to read. When the first I came here, start learning English,
Hmm.
and the teacher asked, "Who wants to read?" I was the first one because nobody was gonna judge me. You
Right.
know, and so now I developed a good habit of writing the book. So this book now, I hope um, to travel and go to dog shows and everything. I want to see if I can get something on Channel 4, 7, to whatever it is.
Hmm.
You know, try to expose the book.
I think.
I still have my truck. That was for the review. I have my truck, and Brian from Image Group did all the design on the
The
truck.
wrap I
He
saw.
just did. He just he did the first time, but now I have the book, so he put the book there and
Hmm.
everything. He is a Marine veteran,
Hmm.
and he didn't charge me a thing.
Hmm.
You know, his employer Brenda even picked me up and dropped me in my house and stuff. Just a fantastic person, you know.
Fabulous.
So we have a couple people, you know, a person that did, Bruce, that did the website, you know, also fantastic, you
And
know.
how can people find the book?
The book is it's on the website lovemelikeadog.org.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have there, you know, show the book there, and it's connect to the Amazon. You know,
So the money you raise from the sale of the book
everything is
is going 100%
100%.
into the foundation.
Exactly.
And the foundation is the goal is to marry dogs with homeless dogs,
Yeah.
really, at the end of the day, from puppy mills, or when the vets or the Humane Society, do these dogs go through any special training?
They have we have a programs like on the Michigan Correction Facility in other places around the country. They use the inmates to train the dogs for
Really?
veterans. It's a fantastic program.
And they do that in
You know,
Michigan.
they do it here in Michigan.
Really?
You know, I actually just made a booklet that I'm advertising that, but there's a lot of places here in Michigan, a lot of even the women's prison here, they do
Okay,
that too.
so they train. And how long does it take to train?
Depend on for example, a dog for the blind, for example, they have a different school.
Of course.
You know, that's more.
There's a difference.
That's a different thing, but they also help, you know, some of the veterans. But sometimes take a year or two, you know, and there is a lot of those shows on TV, on YouTube, um, and it's really interesting because the inmates, now you have an inmate that has a purpose. Here goes back again, you know. They
Well, it's a
learn the
win-win.
love, they learn the unconditional love, they
Yes.
learn trust, they learn discipline. Because if you don't do well there, you are at the program and you participate there, you cut down on the time you spend there. But the interesting thing, when the dogs graduate, some they come and bring the people to see who they're going to pair with, and the dog leaves, you know, it's a heartbroken for the inmate. They
It
spend a
is.
year, they
It
sleep
is.
there with them, you know.
Yeah.
So one thing that I I want to do, I actually in the book I left a blank page, and I wrote there photography, you know, not a photographer, but photography, to put pictures there. I hope to have the funds to go on this correction facility and meet with the inmates and give each one of them a book. So when they are teaching, they can take pictures, put the pictures there, and that book can go with the veteran they are helping. You know, they can also develop something at the correction that they can make the treats. You know, I
Yes.
teach different things, you know, different treats,
Right.
and I divide the book on the 4 season, winter, fall. So each one has the things you can do. You know, St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July, you
Right.
make the color treat there. And the interesting thing is just now the government's talking about the red 4, red 40, yellow 5, and all
Yes.
this thing. So all the colors they're using in the book, you know, it's natural made. For example, out of the cabbage, I get 4 or 5 different colors out of a purple cabbage. Depending how you cook that one, then you can have that color to make. And I teach all that kind of stuff. All the
Right.
spice you can have, you know, for bad breath and stuff.
Right.
Now people bad breath,
Yeah,
bad breath.
with puppy
Yeah.
kisses.
Bad breath for dogs they use parsley. But I researched
Right.
it, and the parsley has to be the curly parsley. The flat leaf parsley is stocks for the dog. So the book is really.
It's very specific.
Yeah.
I personally, I cook for Monty,
Yeah.
and I cooked for my prior pup, to that Winston, and when you get into personally preparing meals for these beloved little creatures, they are one, they get a little costly, but two,
Yeah.
you're much happier with what you know you're putting into their body.
And it's a thing that I talk about there in the book. You never know tomorrow. You know, we have lots of yesterday, but
Yes.
we don't know how many tomorrows we'll have.
Yes.
So I encourage the families to spend time with the children. You know, to do, you know, the dog treats there. but I also encourage them to talk about our veterans, so the kids today, they can learn about the veterans.
Well, we haven't, you know, we haven't had, obviously 9/11 was the last time, and many of those, unfortunately, I was an adult during that period, but you think of the children, I mean, they were infants and things. And so the further away, it's just like if we were in World War II, the further away, we're 85 years or 80 years out from there. And it's the further away you get from those catastrophes, those war zones, the harder it is to remember about those veterans.
Yes.
It's like we're losing World War II veterans every single day, and that population is getting ever so small.
Yes.
Because we are losing them. So it's just to recognize that the commitment that they made for the country, the blood that they shed, to protect our freedoms, and you're giving back to them because
I'm not even from here, but
yes,
I appreciate, I love America a lot, and that's, I think I took the side of it,
yes,
I see in the book I wrote, on the beginning, actually on the back page, what the dog and the veteran have in common is the unconditional love, one for the country, other for you, and
I like
they share that,
it is that unconditional love. I think the land of, when you said you love this country yourself, it's that land of opportunity. I mean, you had to leave, you did what you had to do, and you came back, but you said you came back and you didn't have anything, but it's like starting over.
Exactly.
And what, to be able to have that opportunity, to be able to take that and have that perseverance and just say, you know what, I'm not going to let this stop me, I'm not going to let this keep me down, I'm going to keep thrusting myself forward to be better. And then Rex was able to give you that extra oomph that you needed. And look at you now. You have lovemeleikeadog.org, and we have a book that's published that they can buy on Amazon or through the website, and we can get those donations started. Where in fact we'll put a connection on our website.
Yeah, there's a page
to link us.
There's a page
so
there.
People can find you, and to make sure that they can get their hands on that book. And then you have some future things that you're working on. So we have a poem.
Yeah, I call poem. I wrote 33 poems, and that's funny ones, and like there's one that's about me and Rex, because I'm not ready to love again. So I wrote a poem there. That's about without boundaries.
Yes.
That's dogs and the veterans. So there's some fantastic ones.
We look forward
if
to
my dog
that.
was Shakespeare, to bark or not to bark,
I like that.
And
That's
there's
good.
one that I was talking to an attorney friend of mine, and I said, my dog is an attorney, and then there's a
If my dog
they
is
talk
an attorney.
they talk about
Could you imagine?
my dog and my mother-in-law, that's another one
goodness.
there. Yeah.
That could be a good
if
picture.
if you live first, there's some farmer's boy,
Yeah.
dog and a child. That's a beautiful one, and so
And these words just flow through you.
yeah, I
Just they
put
just
things
they
together.
just flow
Yeah,
right through you
just
to that paper.
and one thing I was gonna mention to you is that life is a journey, like Chandra always say, life is a journey, And the fact that I had spent 6, 7 years in Brazil there, I don't look as a setback. You always learn,
When one door closes,
Yeah.
another one
And I would
opens.
say like the bamboo seed, the seeds of a bamboo, they stay 5, 6 years underground. But when it comes up, they grow 2, 3 yards in 3, 4 weeks.
Yes.
So I always look at that way. You always, sometimes there's the pause there, and we always say, oh, nothing happened, stuff. But that's
But
a
you
timing.
don't see what's festering
Yeah,
underneath. You
that
don't see the
exactly.
roots that are deepening
Exactly.
themselves and growing and creating a strong foundation to be able to
Exactly.
lift yourself.
So yeah, my life is, I did over
The many
different,
branches.
30 different kind of job. I was manager in the bank in Brazil for 7 years. I did all kinds
But
of
to
stuff.
be able to reinvent yourself and to be able to again project yourself forward, produce, and just persevere and push. There's ups and downs. It's the proverbial roller
Exactly.
coaster of life.
And
But here you are, still the big thing that I'm seeing in your story, it was always, what can I do for somebody else? How
Yes.
can I teach somebody else? The kids with soccer, or football, depending
And I
on
learned that.
how which one you want to, which side you're on. But but then just the propelling yourself with "Love Me Like a Dog," and getting, making sure not only Rex's memory stays alive, but also using his memory to build a great organization that's going to help so many people.
And I learned that from my dad. He always helped people. He always volunteered in mental health stuff. Growing up, there's a hospital place there just for people with leprosy. He used to go there and organize soccer game with people with lepra. He never got anything. He did the blood bank and stuff. He did so many. So I learned from him. And growing up, he had a bulldog named Rex. So when I adopt Rex, at the time his name was Marty, say who's gonna name a dog Marty? So I need my dad with me. So having renamed Marty as Rex was a way also to have my dad with me. So
Of course, they're
that's
always
that
with us.
spiritual thing I believe big time.
They're always with
And
us,
and
pushing
so
us in the right directions. I like
oh
to
yeah,
say, making
yes.
sure. There are times I will tell you, there things that I hear in my brain. When you talk about your dad, same thing when I speak of both of my parents, but especially my mother, because she was gone, has been gone for a much longer period of time. But two things: when I slouch, every now and again, I do feel a thumb in the middle of my back. It sounds like the craziest thing, but you actually feel it, because she used to walk up behind me and stick her thumb right here to make me sit up
Uh-huh.
straight because I slouch. And so I tend to feel that a few times a year, like she's just coming right up behind
Yeah,
me, because I know she's there.
it's just
She's
there.
she's
I
telling me.
believe that big time.
Yes,
You know,
and that's what guides us and keeps us,
exactly.
wanting to help other people, and wanting to share this message, and saying, even in times of despair, or when you think you have nothing, you have everything,
Yeah,
because you have a hope, you have a dream. You said you're a
exactly.
dreamer. You have a dream, you have a want.
And
You're going to get there, but you have to, like I always go back and say, you have to be the driver of your
yeah,
car. You have to be the driver of your life, and
exactly.
and that's where you're going. So
By the way, when I finished writing the book last year, Rex passed away.
oh,
You know,
hey, it takes
and
a
that
piece of your
that was
heart.
a tough thing. That's
Oh,
why I
yes,
was mentioning the poem that I'm not ready to love again.
yes.
And I think maybe was a way of him because he was fine. And Chandra wants to go to church, so he found this new church, and the pastor there came to our house one day,
Mm-hmm.
and out of the blue, and there and Rex just got close to him and talked, and then a week later, Rex, I think got some. He had maybe a tumor or something,
Okay.
and he passed away. I think he probably just waiting for the pastor to come here. But I think in a way it was him to say, "You took care of me, you promised me, and you promised Shonda. I think now it's for you to just look after her,
Yes.
because my legacy is there. Love me like a dog, and I know you carry on. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll be with you, but I can't divide the time. You need to focus on the things you're doing, the book,
Mm-hmm.
and Chandra, and make her happy because she was never happy, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, and I think that's how he went.
Mm-hmm.
It was really difficult time.
At
So
peace.
I'm here.
He found his forever home with you,
Yes, yes,
and then you're able to take his legacy on and carry it on, through the book and through his story and everything
yeah.
that he's done for
Oh my
you.
God, it's just
I mean, from the
it's
point of
amazing.
even saving your life.
Yes.
So, you have to buy the book to find the answer to that one, guys. So,
Yeah, it's fun. I hope people help because you go to McDonald's, you spend 14, 15, $20 easily.
mm-hmm,
Why we can't
make something.
donate, $10 or something,
Yes,
So I hope,
we can do this.
as we advertise the business and stuff, I'll be going to dog parks with the books, Um, I made a little flyer and stuff and telling about what we do and the correction facility and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And hopefully people will help out. But the important part to get his legacy started,
Yes.
that I promised I'm doing that. That's why I dedicate my life now. I don't have my job is this now,
And that's
and I'm
and that's
happy.
okay. This
That's
is
okay.
now become your
And
purpose.
that's, I tell anyone, I'm writing another book, but the main thing in life, you have to have a purpose
And
that
I
know,
can agree with
you
that.
know.
So on that note, I want to thank Rico for you being here with us
Well,
today,
thank you.
and I really appreciate you putting yourself out there and just taking us along your journey. I think there are some things that we probably will want to know a little bit deeper, maybe further conversation down the line that we can have, and definitely bring Chandra. I think there just that having a conversation with her to hear about some of her things. There are some different points that I think are very interesting that have happened in her journey
You sure?
before
That's
the two of
interesting.
you came back together.
I'm helping her to write her cookbook.
Excellent, excellent. So again, so thank you again for being
And
here,
I wanna.
and thank you for joining us today on Life Between Coasts. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and tune in next episode when we have another guest. Thanks. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye.